So this was the little demo. I hope you enjoyed this one, and let's talk about the project and the overall processing a little bit. So here's the project. It's a pretty small one. We have 2 tracks for the rhythm section, we have 1 lead guitar here, and we have 3 guitars for the clean section. And let's start with the clean guitars. And I used pretty much the same setting for all 3 tracks. So I used the chorus pedal here, I used pretty basic amp settings. I used the dynamic 57 and the ribbon 160 for the caps. A little bit of EQ just to give the guitar sound a little bit more brightness. And I also used the delay and the reverb pedal inside the plugin. More important is the tilt EQ here. So this is because the I tracks are very dark and muffled sounding, and with this tilt EQ I can shift the balance between the lows and the highs a little bit. So let me show you this in the mixer. Here we have these 2 tracks, so let's link them together, and now I can bypass the 2 EQs at the same time so we can hear the difference better. And as you can hear, without the tilt EQ, the sound is very dark. So that's it for the clean guitars, for the single tracks. I also have a clean guitar group track here. And here I have just a CLA 3A, just -1, -2 dB gain reduction, not that much. But more important is the SSL channel strip here. And let's solo the guitars. And without the channel strip. And as you can hear, it's a pretty drastic difference. But I love this channel strip, especially for clean guitars, and because you can boost the high end, the high mids, and you can reduce the low mids and the low end with the low shelf here, and it works really well, especially for clean guitars. So again, without the SSL, and with the SSL. That's a pretty big difference in my opinion. And I also used a little bit of the width section here. Just let's say 110% to give the guitars a little bit more width. And yeah, that's it for the clean guitars. So let's move on with the rhythm guitars here. Just 2 tracks here. And I use the same setting for both guitars. I use the overdrive pedal here. Also pretty basic amp settings, but here a lot more mid-range because I love the mids of this amp. And I use the dynamic 57 and the 421 for the caps. And no EQ here, just the high pass and the low pass filter. So I don't have to do this afterwards with an extra plugin. And of course no reverb and no delay for the rhythm guitars. And just one little EQ here with a few dips in the mid-range, -1, -1.2, and again -1 dB. Not that much, so just a few dips. This band is dynamic here, so let me show you this. Because we have one little palm mute section here, it's this one. And just for this one section, I have the dynamic band here at around 130. And as you can see, it's only affected when the palm mutes are playing. Normally I do this with an extra plugin, most of the time with the Pro MB from FabFilter, but for this little demo I did it inside the EQ plugin here, which works also really well. So, and I also have the I group here, but as you can see here, it's nothing going on. I also can delete this group. And yeah, that's it for the rhythm guitars. And as you can see and hear, they sound great right out of the box. So now let's move on with the lead guitar, and let's unmute these. Let's jump to this section here and have a listen. And again, I used the overdrive pedal. I used also pretty basic amp settings, a lot less bass, more mid-range here and more treble. And I used the same caps as in the rhythm section, and a little bit more EQ, also a low and high pass filter here. And I used the delay and the reverb pedal again inside the plugin because these sound great. And for the post-processing, I used just one EQ and a little boost at around 800 and a nice roll-off of the high end here. And again, that's it for the processing here. So this is the lead guitar in solo. And in the full mix. And one thing I want to mention is I don't have a lead guitar group because I just have one lead guitar track here. On this one there is nothing going on. This is the only lead guitar, and so I don't need a extra lead guitar group. And that's a thing I want to mention because I try to mix more and more with the single groups and to get rid of unnecessary more and more group tracks. And for the reverb, for the Send FX, I have just a lead verb here, and this is the SP verb from Eventide. I really love this one, especially for lead guitars. The decay is 6.6 seconds. It's pretty drastic, but I use the overall level at around -8 and the send level -2.7, and that's it. So let's hear it without the reverb. And sometimes it's nice to have this delay or reverb and then a little extra delay or reverb on top of the sound. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for lead guitars, I really like this Eventide one. And yeah, just try things out and hear how they sound. And that's it for the lead guitars. And another thing I want to show you is this little piano here. I use this for the intro and for the outro section. So we have a nice little harmonic major thing going on. And here it's called Synth FX, but it's just a cello, a little bit sound designed cello. So let's solo this one. it really emphasizes the piano melody here. And pretty much the same thing for the little outro here. And a nice little fade out here. And for the processing of the piano, in case if you are interested, I have also the SSL channel strip here. So let's hear the piano in solo. And it's pretty similar to the clean guitars. I boosted a lot of the high frequency, the high mids, and also the low shelf to reduce some of the muddiness of the piano. And it really gives the piano a more brighter sound, which I really like, especially for the whole mix context. And for the cello here, let's solo this one. I used my old trick with the Elysia Niveau filter here, and I used 2.2K, and then I can shift the frequency balance, which I use especially for string instruments, in this case the cello. And so let's hear this without. And with. It reduces some of the harshness of the higher notes, and you don't hear it that much with the single cello here, but for a whole string section it makes a huge difference. And then again a little 7th Heaven reverb here, just for the cello here. So without, it's very dry. And with the 7th Heaven we have a nice hall sound. And yeah, that's it for these two instruments. And again, let's have a look at the MixBus here. And here I have just one EQ, not that much going on, a little dip at around 200, minus 0.5 dB. And this one is really important. This one is very broad, with a Q filter 0.4, 0.5, and just 0.8 dB, but let's hear it in the whole mix context. So this one is also really important, but just 0.8 dB, that's totally enough. And then again I have the SSL bus compressor 2 here, which pretty basic bus compressor settings, the slowest attack, the fastest release, and I use the ratio 2:1, so not pretty drastic, and so it gives the whole mix a nice little glue. And then I have Saturn 2 just for a little bit of warm tape saturation, not that much, around 10%. And on my stereo out I have just Flatline 2 just for the loudness here, And that's it for this little demo and this little walkthrough. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching and see you on the next one.